Long before the flute, the rattle, and even the drum, there were storytellers. And unlike today, those storytellers were not thought of as just entertainers. They were teachers and historians. Having no written language, it was storytelling that preserved our legends, our history, and much of our culture. But storytelling was also used as a method of teaching the young ones, and sometimes reminding the not-so-young ones how to live in a good way.
All right, you guys, we are live. We are back here. It is day 3 of Indigenous Storytelling, and today we have back my uncle, Elder Dr. Winston Wttunee. Also, we do have a surprise guest joining us today as well, so looking forward to that. And also, there's going to be like 4 of us on here today. So exciting, you guys. We're going to get right to the show. Sorry for a little late start. Indian time, you know how that goes, but let's get right to it. All right, you guys, to my left, I do have Nikki Ouellette, who is doing her practicing with us at Clifford Wttunee School. Good morning, Nikki, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Awesome. And Tim, below me there, we have my uncle, Elder Dr. Winston Wttunee. I should give you guys this. Oh, I was trying to give you the applause. Oh, wrong button. And to the bottom left there, we do have a guest today, right out of all the way from wherever they are from. I forget where they are from. She'll tell us where. But we have Little Mystique. Welcome.
Dancer.
There, like that. All right. So as you guys know, we are doing Indigenous storytelling for the month of February, and my uncle is co-hosting Mondays and Fridays. We did have Patrick Mitzwing on yesterday, and then we had Tommy Christians on the day before, and my uncle started it off with us on Tuesday. So go ahead, Uncle, take it away.
All right. So that little guest, or Little Mystic, is a very, very popular little guest because she is going to be teaching us Cree. Okay. Are you ready, Little Mystic, to teach us Cree? We'll follow you. Go ahead, my dear. Hello.
Danse Gakio. My name is Little Mystic Egwa. I am from Onion Lake, Saskatchewan. Maga. I teach Cree in Muskegsik, Enoch Cree Nation.
Okay. Hey. Good.
Egwa.
You're very good, Little Mystic.
Hi.
That's so nice to see you. That's so nice to have a puppeteer. Who braided your hair this morning?
Nia.
Oh,
Nia.
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 Oh, wonderful. It looks very good. Okay.
Hi. So, Anoot, today, what we're learning for an MK in Enoch, we'll just go over 4 words, Anoots. Okay? I'm sure everybody knows this, but if you don't, follow along. Our first word, metas.
Okay, meta.
Metas awa. So this is a pants, metas. Egwa. The students at MK this week are also learning asigana. Asigana. We are also learning this week maskisina. Okay. Yeah, so 1 shoe is maskisin and 2 shoes is maskisina.
Maskisin,
peyak maskisin. Maskisina. Maskisina. The last word we're learning for this week is astutin. Tanama kitastutin. Where's your hat?
Ota.
Gitastutin. That's your
Mintas
hat.
Tutin.
Yes. Tapwe. So that's it for this week. And I am honored to be a guest on your show today. Hi.
Oh, Tabo, well, we're very honored, and please come back again because we like to have puppets. You know what? Everybody, all those little kids, Kakia Wasi said, and wow, they're just going to love you, little Miss Stick. And I will not forget your name. Yes, little Miss Stick. Ikuki Samina, sure, nice to meet you. All the way from my lake, eh?
Yes, Onion Lake.
Uh-huh. So, have you been on the road this morning? And where did you come from this morning?
Nete Maskeksik, Enoch.
Oh, okay. Oh, my goodness, yeah. How are the roads?
Mr. Hekuna, lots of snow.
Mr. Hekuna, yeah. Oh, tell me now, when I go, tell me now.
Oh, Winnipeg, Megwate.
Wow.
Samwayo.
Yeah, but you know what? Right here, we're right all together, and that's so wonderful.
Tapwe. Ay.
So, where are you going back to now?
I'll be here at work until 4 p.m. and then I will have a weekend off.
Oh, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. I'm sure glad that you're here today. That's wonderful.
Tapwe. I'm here to listen to some storytelling. Egwa?
Well,
Ewi negamo ya?
Kia or Nia?
Kia.
Nia, okay. I'll sing a little song. This is a cute little song. And you can sing with me.
Okay.
Kenny Punchy, this is John, Pay with pretty candy, one star,
one star.
Kenny Punchy, this is John, Say with pretty candy, one star,
Hi.
Yeah, that's here, you want to do another one? Let's do the alphabet song.
How?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC. Next time, won't you sing Okay.
Good.
Skitin the alphabet song. Kaskitan.
Can I hear where?
Dancy
se?
Okay. I'll start doing it then, okay? Repeat after me.
Of course.
O, A.
U, A.
Pepe, Pupa.
Pepe, Pupa.
Tete, Tota.
Tete, Tuta.
Tete, Tota.
Tete, Tuta.
Meme, Moma.
Meme, Muma.
Nene, no, naces, so
Yeah, I don't know that part.
Yeah, yo, ya.
Yeah, yo, ya.
Se, so
Sosa.
Now I know my ABC. Next time, won't you you sing in Cree.
Hi, hi.
Oh, I'm glad you like to sing.
Está buenista.
Kistamina, okay. Do you want me to sing another one, Little Mystic? I'll sing you a song. I'll sing you one of Edwin Bull's songs. It's a real pretty song.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. You just have to repeat after me, or I'll just sing it and you just come in whenever you can there.
Okay.
Way yo hey yo hey hi ya. Hey ya hey yo hey hi ya. Way yo hey yo hey hi ya. Way yo hey yo hey hi ya. Way yo hey yo hey hi ya. Way ya ya hey ya hi ya ho. Way ya hey ya hey hi ya. Hey ya hey ya hey hi ya. Wait, I'll tell you what, I'll sing the first line, I'll sing it twice, and then you sing with me. When I sing, okay, Little Mystic, you summon a Matenikamunkista, okay. Way ya hey ya hey hi ya. Hey 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 ya hey ya hi ya. Now that you know it, let's try it again, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I'll count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Way yo hey yo way hi ya. 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 Way ya hey ya hey hi ya. Way ya hey ya hi ya ho.
Wow, hi.
Oh, good. And I could hear you singing. Boy, you have a pretty voice.
Hi. Gista.
Oh, hi.
Gista.
A little Mystic, can ita nikamun.
Hi. I know the hello song.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
Okay, I will sing and you repeat after me.
Okay, Tapwe.
Okay. Hello,
Hello,
dance.
Tanse.
How are you?
How are you?
Dancegia.
Tansekia.
I am fine.
I am fine.
Namoyananto.
Namoyananto.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Pitikwe.
Beat the gwe.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Ape.
Ape.
Have some tea.
Have some tea.
Maski guapoy minigwe.
Maski kwa pwe mini kwe.
Hi. Nepi apu nepi kagi miniguan.
Oh.
Yes.
That was a real good song. I like that song. That's Brian McDonald, right?
Aha.
Dante Aftel skate the what, Brian?
Kya bits we take us kisusa gaigene at the sket. He
Oh,
still works in Onion Lake.
oh, tell him hello for me.
Tapwe.
Tell him wherever I go, people ask me if I can sing that song. And I can, of course. And they said, well, we're really pleased to meet you, Brian. No, I said, I'm not Brian, I'm Winston Wttunee. Oh, gee whiz, yeah. So are you going to come back and visit us again another time?
Aputikwe next Friday. Aputikwe, maybe.
Okay, good, because I'll have my puppets so they can sing together.
Yay! Tapwe.
Way.
I also have Missy Misuta.
Missy Miss. Oh my. Oh wow. Wow, Missy Miss.
Misawa.
Oh,
Dance.
more nanto.
So, well, I'll see you next Friday.
Next Friday. Okay. What's that next Friday? That in Katoa? No, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Nisa Sap. Ewiagamit.
Oh, Nisha. Oh,
Ewiagamit.
yeah. Friday.
It'll be the 12th.
Oh, the 12th. Okay. That's right, too. All right. Good.
Examaga.
Okay. Ixamaga.
Muestas.
Thank you.
That was and we're back on. That was pretty cool. Oh, sorry here. Yeah, thank you, Little Mystique, all the way from Onion Lake, and thank you for coming on and entertaining the masses here. What do you think, Coco?
Well, I thought that was really good. Yes, and she could sing songs. She sang Brian McDonald's song, two of them,
Yeah,
and that first one is so popular, everybody knows it all across Canada.
yeah.
And I get asked, so I get asked to sing that all the time. So it's one of my favorite songs. And then the other little one that came in, she didn't stay very long, but she had a really pretty ribbon shirt on.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's very good.
We have a request for to join Dallas Waskahat.
Oh, okay.
He wants to. Can you see this comment he put there? I
Oh,
want to
Dallas
be your
wants
Newsome.
wants to be what?
He wants to be your Newsome. He said.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, Tabwe. You betcha, Dallas. Tabwe. You are sin.
Yeah. So I sent him the link there, and I'm just gonna wait for him to come on, but we'll continue on until we can get him on here. So
Okay. So, Nikki, one of the things.
Yes, Winston.
One of the things I remember was you've always been with horses all your life, huh?
Yeah, I've been lucky that they've been a part of my life right from as long as I can remember.
That's right, because I've seen you. I've seen you now in 3 places, and you've always had horses.
Hmm. I was lucky that I was able to grow up with that. Thankfully, my parents, my dad and my mom's from Red Pheasant, we're related, we're cousins.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they nurtured that. They saw that love in me as a young child, and they nurtured that, and they made sure that they were a part of my life growing up. And I just carried that through into adulthood, and still, even currently today, I still love horses, have horses, ride. So yes.
So tell me something. This is a silly question, but I have a favorite horse. Do you have a favorite horse over all those years?
You know, there's a lot of them have special value to me in many different ways. For many years, it was the horse I competed on, Lexi, and you know Lexi.
Yes, I know her. Yeah.
Yes, and she's retired now, so she's 22 this year, and so we've kind of turned her out, and she's just kind of living her best life. She's out there keeping the herd, keeping everybody in line. So we have a few young ones coming up right now that we're working with, and that are really showing some really excellent qualities. And I'm really happy to be able to be working with them in the upcoming years. I have a really beautiful gray named Sophie, and Sophie is 6 years old, and I started her last year, and she's just a real awesome horse to have around. She's just full of personality and just a very kind soul. We have another one that we have is Sky, and she's pretty young. She's going to be 5 this year. And I believe she's going to have some pretty special qualities. They're all special. It's hard to say, but certain ones, you have this feeling in here that they're going to really be something.
I think you kind of know that right away, eh? I remember once I took some boys, about 12 boys in the mountains, and there was one that he kept on saying, "I don't like this horse. This horse doesn't like." Finally, I ended up giving him my horse, Joe. He was a quarter horse, and when he got on Joe, Joe bucked him right off his back, and he landed on the ground on a rock, and he really hurt his back, and he lost his wind. He's going around like that. So nobody laughed, and then I said to him, when he caught his breath, I said, "Now complain." I said, "Now you have something to complain about." So sometimes when people complain for nothing, they eventually we get something to complain about. Now, I haven't had a horse for a long time. So, Nikki, I feel like your horses are all my horses because I'm a close relative of yours.
Yes, I share them with you, and I love it when you come out and I get to share their healing spirit with you, and they can feel that. They can feel that when people have that connection to them. I have many friends who maybe, I know you're a rider from the past, and but I have a lot of friends too that just are really connected to horse spirit in general, and they may not ride horses, but they have that connection in here with them, and the horses know that.
So when did you find out that you had such an affinity with all horses? How old were you?
I think I've been riding since I could walk. I've been told, and I've been kind of a horse nut my whole life, and it just never went away. I would say probably in my younger years, I just thought everybody was like that. I just thought everyone had that connection. To me, it was normal. I've been training horses for other people since I was about 10 years old. And I don't know, it's just, for me, I have a communication with them, but it was on the basis of energy. So I didn't necessarily hear their words, but I could feel the timing of things, like as I'm working with them, when I needed to push them a little bit, when I needed to come back and lay off them a little bit. And all of those things, that was a really natural thing for me. So it made training horses, I don't want to say easy, but it's definitely easier when you have that understanding. So I wasn't until I was about 13 that I realized that this was something maybe different. And of course, when you're a teenager, who wants to be different, right? You want to blend in. So I had my little life over here with my horses, and then I had my life over here with my friends, and none of my friends really rode. I rode alone most of my life. Even, it would be nothing for me to get up and get on my horse and be gone all day. Mom and Dad never worried about that. I just came home when I was tired. And I was lucky to have that kind of upbringing. And I was also really lucky to have someone like my dad who showed me everything I needed to know about working with horses. He worked a lot with horses. He's an avid horseman himself. And he used to do some really amazing things with horses in terms of training them, and even down to doing tricks with them and different things. So I guess I observed that. That was part of my observations as a child. And he gave me the space to do that. And he always made sure we had good horses. Now, when I say good horses, I don't necessarily mean broke horses. I mean, just, all the horses we had were really well-minded, well-bred, I guess you could say, and handled, I guess. And he basically gave me my freedom to explore and figure it all out. And I did. I had a few bumps and bruises. I'm sure I fell off a time or two. But at the end of the day, he gave me, I guess, the field to work in. And he provided teachers to me and trainers and mentors, if he couldn't be there. And because he worked away a lot. But I always felt like I was being nurtured in that way.
Well, that beautiful horse you have, that 22 years old, I forget her name.
Lexi.
Bessie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Remember when at the last rodeo I saw you at North Battleford? And then afterwards you were walking back to your trailer?
Yeah.
And what I noticed about that horse, she was very nimble, and she was just really stepping right along. And we were stepping right along with her. And then she said, she likes me because I have a good spirit. You remember you told me that?
Yes. Yeah. Another thing that I realized later in life was that I actually began to hear the horses. And so it's kind of funny because they're all very different, just like people are very different. And Lexi is a very outspoken kind of horse, and if she finds somebody who matches her spiritually, she really wants to connect with them. And that's how she was with you. She really wanted to connect with you, and she was really showing off for you and trying to get you to notice her. And she wanted me to tell you all the things she did. And Yeah, she's a funny little lady, that one.
Yeah. Tell her I said hello.
I will.
Yeah.
We just got a quick guest here. Awesome. I do want to go back to the horse thing, but we just had a quick guest pop in here, and they want to sing a song with Uncle Winston, and then we'll go back to Nikki and her horse story, which is actually pretty cool, Nikki. I'm really curious to know more about horses, so give us your 2 minutes here, and here we go.
Jerry, can you
All
find me
right.
that song that's just in the office there about that song I wrote about the horse band of sandwiches? It's right there somewhere.
This one right there, on the on the bottom.
Ah, Tom so Winston.
Why not? Oh, why not?
Tom Scott no.
Uh-huh.
Nehio Elvis and Sigasun.
Oh, that's it.
Heartbreaker.
Oh, okay.
Brandon winemaker. Brandon. Estoy mal Brandon wine. Tan sige.
Oh, why not? Well, today, it's so cold outside.
Hey, tap way. Go out in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do this little. I dress up as Nehio Elvis. Nehio Elvis, and I go around to the elders and I sing to them. Yeah, but I Dallas Moya, Dallas Waska hat net siga so naik sege gano tinya.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Yeah, na nimosum pan Pete Waska hat.
Pete Waska. Oh, can stream on.
Oh, good, yeah. Mutsuwi, no, why not? Everybody else.
I say you take
5,
6 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent no time here. You get I ski with them. I used to really like that to visit with him. It killed me every chance I had.
Oh, tapwe, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Nina, I wish I had that time to. I wish I had spent more time with him, Nina. He was so intelligent, but I couldn't really understand what he was when he would talk. I just started going on this language journey too. Uh-huh. That's been 5 years now. It's been 5 years.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And it's a funny thing because Nina and that's all I ever did before was Impatsimuin, Tegwa Wasagasimuin or Pizzitoin, Pixie Semana.
Uh-huh.
And then I started getting into taking these classes, these Nehio classes. And it just opened something. But Ninan, your songs though, you spend the songs you would sing that really opened up something for me to want to learn even more.
Uh-huh.
I started. Yeah. And but one song that I really wanted to try translate to was this one. Swim up. Highway, way, highway, way, highway, way, highway, way, highway, way, yo, hi, yo, hi, yo, hi, hello, yo, hi, yo, hi, yo, hi, hello. Nisto sin. Oh no, ain't no tequilan. Nisto sin. Wah, hi, yo, hi, yo, hi, hello, yo, hi, yo, hi, yo, hi, hello. Newigiwan kinstutawin, newigiwan kapitawin, newigiwan. Wah, hi, yo, hi, hello, yo, hi, yo, hi, hello. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what you can do at the very end of that? Sing it once more. Sing it 3 times.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to sing with you.
Okay.
You know, like when they sing, "Are you sleeping? Are you
Yeah.
sleeping?" And then the others come in, "Are you sleeping?" They come in like that. I'm going to do that same thing with the nations just sing it 4 times, the last verse.
The last verse?
Or the first verse, yep.
The first verse, okay. I'll start with the words. Nanestosin, nanestosin. Oh no, there's no sin, and there's no sin. Como
And there's no sin, and there's no sin.
Wahaya, Ohio,
And there's no sin. Wahaya, haya, haya, ho. Wahaya, haya, haya, ho. And there's no sin, and there's no sin. Oh no, oh no, Rikiwaya. Wahaya, haya, haya, ho. Haya, haya. And there's no sin, and there's no sin. Kono, kono, Rikiwaya. Wahaya, haya, wahaya, haya, haya, ho. Oh, right on. Boy,
Hey, hi.
son, Chris Kandikamon.
Yeah, tapoy, I started doing this immersion program. Heck there in Goodfish Lake.
Uh-huh.
And Pito Manaya, I use those songs.
Good.
We call it the sleepy time song. Pito Manaya, I was stuck when they kind of start going crazy, start getting in Mutsugatsu. So I start singing that. It said they stop. Then they don't know what to do. They get ready for bed. They sit on their chairs. They close their eyes. Yeah. And that's one of the songs we use. Really good.
You know what? When you're working with children, Indian children,
I
spent, when you play the drum, it's so nice and soft. That's just like their grandmother speaking to them, and then they just relax. You know. So I use the drum quite a bit when I'm working with children too. They just love it.
Yeah, and
not only that, all over the world, no matter where you go in the world, if you sing a song on an Indian drum and sing an Indian song, the whole world will listen because they love our songs. It's
amazing because this school was never exposed to these kind of songs, and you spend them too. They're trying to reclaim that language and they're trying to reclaim their identity. But it's Goodfish Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They were, I think, Christians and Catholics. They're really, but they wanted to bring this in, and it's so amazing how language could really help them identify, who they are. It's just amazing because it's good because your songs, they do a lot. And Nina, I study your songs, so it's amazing how you. I say you already knew what you were doing, Kayasmana, with these songs for the Wasak, right? So.
Yeah.
So Nina, that's really I'm really I'm thankful. Naskumun, you bring a lot. I say me not to this language journey. I went to my language journey. So hi Winston. I was leaving comments at the beginning. That's how they brought me on. I was saying, Winston Wttunee, can I be your new sim? I kept saying.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah. I said, oh yes. The thing is that you're good because I can see that. I'm like a horse. I can see that good spirit in you. You're very good. Just like old Pete Pun was very good with everybody. I always remember him. Always kind of remember him like this, looking like that and laughing and talking. Yeah. He was always laughing and talking everywhere, and he was very well known and well respected everywhere.
That way, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Nisto Manaya was watching. So even with certain songs, I try to bring them into that. The songs you sing, I try to bring them into that. Even like that one in ska, or even that. I just heard you singing that syllabic song too. That's another thing too, right? Another song and it's so. Moya, you know what? I started learning those songs. I like I said, I've sang Roundlands of Wapawa for a long time, and I've never came across those songs ever. That's so funny. Even in those, because I went to school in Frog Lake, and then I don't know why we were never exposed to those kind of songs, and it took me to go back to Blue Quilts. I went back to Blue Quilts to learn my language again. Yep, and that's where it all started.
Well, you know what? Maybe you'll bring those songs to different schools. You'll be the one to take them to different. I did some when I was still there. I did, and we sang all over the place. Yeah, that's right. One time I went into a hotel one night, up by Lloydminster, and I said, "Do you have a room?" And the lady said, "No, we were sold right out." And she said, "Wait a minute, you're Winston Wttunee, right? You sing with those little Indian kids." I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "We have a spare room. It's yours for tonight. You don't have to pay." So yeah, because people get to know you and the good work you're
Yeah.
doing. So keep
Yeah.
up that good work. I will follow you.
Yeah.
And you have
He's
Zoom at home?
Yeah, we have Zoom at home. Yeah, me and my wife. My wife is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Zoom me sometimes and we'll Zoom and we'll talk
Yeah.
together.
That'd be good. Yeah. Kispin tapwe. Yeah. Hey, well, there was one video I seen you singing. I don't know if it was with your son, but boy, kistama na ini kamu hikma na kay mio sin Stewaski. You're a good singer. Kista, I had seen you sing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, at one time. I was some YouTube there, yeah. But it's like, boy, I want this guy to be my Muslim. I kept saying, I want this guy to be my Muslim.
Oh, I'll be perfect. I'll be perfect. I'll be the perfect Muslim for you.
Hiya, kitaya otsi sunya Muslim. That's
Good
one
one.
word.
Yeah.
I learned that word, and I was told I better learn that word just in case I find myself some new Muslims. They go no guns. Okay, well,
That's a good one.
Well, Kitam. Oh,
I think just what? Give us a good drum song.
how? Yeah. And then another thing too that we do too is we compose songs for people to learn too.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So one is this. It's like So when we just add like 2 or 3 words so other people could learn them. Wasak too. So this one, look at. What's this guy? No, baby, no. No, it's Ava. She's trying to touch the computer. Nanas kamon utawinan, nanas kamon kikawino, nanas kamon utawinan, nanas kamon kikawino, nanas kamon utawinan, nanas kamon kikawino,
Oh, bom tremiosin.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a good one. Well, you know what? That's a song I want to learn. So when we Zoom next time, I don't know how to record when we're Zooming, but maybe my wife knows how to record when we Zoom.
Yep.
All right, so you get my phone number off of and my email off of
Nathan too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can send me by Facebook also.
How?
And we'll Zoom. We'll do lots of Zooming together because that's really excellent.
Hey, yeah, we'd love that. Yeah, that's something we would totally want to do. Yeah. Okay. Well, kawa pumped in and got me out in a big squat.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to say this virtual thing here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Tom. How?
Oh, what a nice treat. But
Well, that was pretty awesome.
Wasn't that awesome, eh? Yeah, that's so wonderful. That's I will never forget that he came on.
Definitely something to remember.
And asked me to be his grandfather. Could I have a tea too, please? Asked me to be.
What an honor.
And yeah, and at the same time, just like I was when I was a young man like that. That's why I see myself now in him. And so that's so wonderful that he asked me to be his grandfather. And I knew his grandfather very well, old Pete Waske. He's a very, very smart old man. And lots of fun. But like I was thinking that I had this horse who was an English Arabian. And I used to ride him all the time. Where my farm is over there? and I'd come back from and I'd cut through the mosquito, and there was an old trail there, and it would be night, and I couldn't see, and that horse would be galloping, and he'd have his head right down to the ground, looking at everything, making sure that he didn't trip, or we didn't go fast, but he could do it. And I thought, wow, what a smart horse. And I think that when you're with your horses and your dad, holy cats, man, you had the best teacher going, because your dad is just so good with horses. And I always know that. That's one of the reasons why I really like to go in and visit. And plus, your mother is one of my favorite aunties. I've always met her all my life. And yeah, so so that's great.
It was really good learning from him, and the way he taught was in such a quiet way, and it was more experiential learning than a lot of words. It was a lot of observing. I did a lot of observation, watching him working with the horses. There wasn't a lot of exchange of words between us, but I would watch and then try and do the same. And if I needed help, he'd help me or correct me or show me a different way. But I'm pretty sure it probably drove my mom crazy because, I did a lot of crazy things when I was younger with horses that hadn't been rode and stuff. But that's how I learned.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so now you do healing with horses, I understand. And
I do a little bit of everything with horses. I went to school in Montana. I took some training in Montana around 2003, I think it was. And I learned how to do therapies with horses, like to help horses, doing massage therapy. But the reason why I chose that school is the lady that taught that school in Missoula, Montana, is where I went. Is what I liked about her is that she used energy work as the foundation of everything that she did. And for me, I'd worked with energy for most of my life. So to me, that was a good foundation for it. So when I went into that to that training, of course, I traveled all the way from Canada to go. I went on my own and just decided this is what I want to do. And there was people from all over the states that were there, and I think somebody internationally too as well. But it was just a really good training. And the lady that taught us was actually legally blind.
Oh my!
So she had her senses. When people are blind like that, or have a disability, I guess you'd say, their other senses are heightened. So as we worked with these horses, she showed us more about feel than the theory in the books. Of course, we reflected on that. But as we worked with the horses, she showed us how to respond to that feel and energy. And so that really resonated with me because that was my style also. So I really got a lot from that.
Wow, I bet. Holy cats. Those horses, like, you love those horses, and they love you right back, don't they?
Yes, yeah. Horses are just like people. They have different personalities. They have different, I guess they're good at different things. For example, you may have a horse that may be bred to race, but it may not be in its heart to do that. Or you could have a horse that comes from a long line of like rodeo horses that should be a good performance horse, but maybe that horse just likes to go down the road and go down the trail and carry a rider. And that's fine. They're all different. They're all unique. And so what I've learned is now, as I'm a little older, I no longer purchase horses with their agenda in mind. I mean, I keep it's relevant, but I first spend time working with them, and then we discover where they'll fit based on their strengths and their weaknesses. Yeah.
And I always love my horses, and I always bless them. Many times I bless them. And sometimes I had a ranch by Calgary, and I had 15 horses, and I'd go stand beside them. And they'd be looking up towards the mountains, or just as soon as I come, they'd all come around me, and they'd start nibbling me. Or sometimes they'd bite really hard. I don't know if they were just doing that on purpose. Maybe they'd say, "Here comes that Winston again. I'm going to bite him this time." But you know what? There was one horse, and I really loved that horse because it was a good horse for riding. It listened. You could shoot off it, and you could carry a deer on its back. Anyway, I had a dream one night about that horse. And I told my wife I hadn't seen him for about a month because he was just running around all over with the other horses. And I had a dream, and I said, my horse is going to come and see me today. And she said, why? I said, he cut himself right in, he got barbed wire right here in his leg, and he was all cut up inside his leg. And I went outside that next day, and there he was standing there. And I said, okay, you came home, did you? And I went to look underneath there, and it was just all bloody under there. So I phoned the vet, and he told me what to do, and I did that. And he was all right. It didn't take long. So I was so surprised that he came. Then that's when I realized they're almost like children, too. They come home to see you when they're scared or when they're hurt. Because one time I brought a little horse. I bought one off of Bert Pritchard, a nice little mare. Oh, she was fast. And when she came over to the corral, all the other horses, they were checking her out, and she got scared. And she was racing around that big corral, and all the horses were chasing her. And then what she did, she come and stood right beside me. And I put my arm around her and said, hey, get away, you guys. And I put my arm, and she stayed there. And she stayed there for about 10 minutes. And then after that, the other horses, when they saw that I wanted her to be in the herd too, they let her come. And I thought, wow, that ever interesting. And that's why
there is a communication. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
I was just going to say they do have communication amongst themselves as well. They have a language and a communication of their own. And I do believe that they do accept or not accept us into their herd. And with the horses, it's just amazing. There's so many different things I could share with you about how the horse spirit is such a healing thing for us. And I do healing work as well. I do energy work, and I work with people and as well as horses, but it's the horses that give me that strength. It's the horses that give me what I need, that horse medicine. And we have to honor that when we're given a gift like that. Right. And we do that by good care of our horses. We treat them the best that we can. They're all recognized as individuals and that they have their strengths. There's certain horses I actually use when I'm doing healing work, or I'll bring them in spiritually as I'm working with people if I'm helping them with their issues. Horses can help us with that. They can help us with that healing. A couple of years back, I took some training and became an equine assisted learning facilitator. And what that is it helps us to be able to use horses to help those who need it through by learning life skills. They're teaching life skills. Oh, there he goes. So I'm talking. Okay, so as we're doing these life skills, we're teaching such things using the horses, such as trust and respect and communication and all these different aspects. And all of these are part of our teachings as well as First Nations people. So when you do these, when you use the horses in this type of setting, it's more of a natural way for kids to connect. And they don't even realize that they're growing from this experience. We also can do this with adults. We've had a lot of adults come and we work with staff, adults, team building, that type of stuff. But with the horses, they bring something out in people, and sometimes they mirror things that are happening for people in their lives, and they teach them how to problem solve, because quite often it may not be an easy fix or something like super simple to make things flow, but they're definitely teachers. And when we have people come to our ranch here and we work with the horses, we set them up with a horse. Usually it's one person, two people and a horse. So there's three on a team. And what we do is we have different exercises that we set out. So this is what I learned when I took the course for facilitating, but I also bring a little bit more of my personal influence into it from what I've learned culturally and through energy work. So we pair up one horse with two people, for example, and then we give them different obstacles or tasks to accomplish. And in order to do that, they have to not only figure this out with their partner, their human partner, but they also have to figure that out with their horse partner. So it's very respectful, because they have to get that permission to work together amongst the people, but they also have to bring that horse element into it. And that horse has to feel safe in order to be a part of this. And if the horse doesn't feel safe, he lets them know. And he lets them know through body language, and maybe by not trusting to go through certain obstacles and do certain things. And so, as you know, you often can't make a horse do something they don't want to do, right? So we have to use different ways to communicate. So it's really interesting to watch, especially with kids, as they navigate through that and figure that out and learn. And in doing so, they learn a lot about themselves and what they bring to the table energetically, right? And then also to be good listeners and to be good at receiving and being perceptive of others around you, meaning the horse, their partner, the elements, whatever it is that they're doing with their team. So we're really enjoying that. We usually have myself, my partner Tyson. The first year we had my daughter involved with it as well. My dad, we bring into it. It's really good to have him there as well, because there's something also, as I said, when the way he teaches, it's more like hands-on. I'll show you. It's not a lot of this. So the kids have to learn too how to pick up on body language and be observant as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. And your dad is such a wonderful, and he's such a quiet man, but I can just imagine him that when he's teaching kids how to work with horses, and that must be just super. And you probably recognize that spirit in him that you have, and he recognizes it in you.
Yes, definitely. I'm so thankful for that. I'm grateful to have had my dad in my life and to still have him in our lives. Yeah. I mean, he's 89 years old, and we still bring him into the program as much as he's able to come in. And I think just by observing, I think that he feels good about what we're doing, because he nurtured that, and he how did you say, he helped grow this, what we're doing. And as a result, I'm able to share that now with other people. And for some of these kids, they don't have to have a horse background to be doing this or to be a part of this program. But for a lot of them, it gives them a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership of their feelings. It gives them a sense of being able to have like those relationships. Some of the kids that come to us may be experiencing different things, like behavioral issues or physical issues or whatnot. Some might be bullies, some might be the victim of being bullies. But when you bring all these kids together and you put them in with horses, all of who they are when they come in, their titles, it all changes. Because when they come in, I find out first, who's your best friend? And they're like, oh, this is my best friend over here. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're not going to be with them today. So right away, they're not impressed with me. Their little faces just drop. And I'm like, no, but it'll still be fun.
Who's your favorite teacher? Not her.
Yep, pretty much. But that changes. But anyhow, as they go along, they do realize that it's not about being in your comfort zone. In fact, that's how it works, is you're out of your comfort zone and you're having to figure out new ways to navigate and to think and to respond and to react. So it's really amazing. We've watched a lot of growth happen in our little arena out here on Red Pheasant. We do the program right out here on Red Pheasant, by the way. We have other schools that come. We have different organizations. We've even had staff coming and bringing their adult staff to come to learn how to work together and to communicate better and to learn the skill of teamwork, right? Because all of the things that we do in this arena for that hour and a half, it builds on all of that. And these are skills that you can use when you're outside, like when you're out in the world, when you're in your workplace, when you're in terms of relationships, socially, like in social settings for kids who have maybe some social issues or different things like that. Like it's just an amazing thing. And I know it's starting to catch on and a lot of people are doing this, but it would be so great to see this happening in more of our First Nations, because this is basically like a land-based type of teaching and training. And kids don't even know that they're the things, like they don't really know the whole aspect of what they're learning, like the grandness of it all. But it's really awesome. Like, and to be able to share that with other kids that maybe don't have those opportunities is really special as well.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, all right, there. You cut off there for a minute. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, I had a horse. I called him, it was a Morgan when I had a ranch by Calgary. And every time visitors would come, there was a porch outside, and he'd come walking up. He used to he'd come to the door. He used to want to come inside because the dogs came inside. And he'd come right to the door, and he'd come to the window. And so one time Mom was there with my sisters and their children. All of a sudden somebody screamed, and there was my horse right there looking through the window. He wanted to come in, and yeah. And then my little boy Niska, I went outside. He was only about 6 years old, and there he was riding around on this horse. And so I didn't say anything. You know, I thought, well, the horse is not doing anything. He's just walking around. So I went out there and I said, how did you get on there, son? He said, I climbed a tree and I sat on the branch. And when he came underneath, I just dropped down on his back. And the horse, he understood that it was that was my child. And he didn't buck or run away or kick or anything like that. So so those people that come that are in charge of offices, and they have staff with them. And the staff come there to learn how to work with other people and to feel and see and arise to the situation, arise to what's in front of them right off the bat, eh?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that we do in that exercise with team building is people, like at the end, we get a lot of feedback. And at the end, one of the most common things we hear was, I did not realize the level of communication I was at. Like to them, you know, say as a supervisor, I felt like I was communicating perfectly. But in doing this, it makes me think maybe I'm not communicating as well as I could. Right? Because we have one exercise that's really interesting. And those of you who have been through any of the programming that are maybe watching, we have 3 people. So we have 3 people. In this particular one, the horses are there, but it's more about the people. So we have 3 people, and their arms are linked. They're linked, but the arms. The person in the middle is the brain. So the person in the middle is the only one that can give direction. The person on their right is their right hand. The person on their left is their left hand. But the right and left hand cannot do anything unless the brain, the middle person, tells them to. So they're in a horse arena and they're navigating through different obstacles, sometimes having to lead a horse along as they're doing it or whatever, but they can't do anything that the brain doesn't tell them to. So you think, oh, that sounds pretty easy. But when you're actually doing it and you're the person who has to be giving out all the orders, or like all the instructions, I guess, you realize how much you really have to articulate in order to get what you want, like what you have in your mind, to come out so that you have the results of that. And that's a real eye-opener for people, because you think, well, you'd think that would be easy. But I mean, there's a lot of laughter that goes on. And you know, us as Indigenous people, you know, laughter is a really important aspect of everything that we do. So it's really beautiful to hear that and to see and observe everybody as they're, you know, navigating through these processes and just having such a good time. It's really great. And the horses are a part of that too. So in saying that, we have different horses that we use, and we have Tyson and I have 17 horses here at our ranch, horses, ponies, and mules, but they're not all perfect fits for the program. We have to ensure that they're safe, first of all, and that they're going to be able to be used in this capacity, right? Like, for example, Lexi. I thought, oh, sure, I'll use Lexi. She's, you know, at the time, she's 20 years old. She's had life experience. She'll be great. She was terrible at it. I mean, terrible. She had no patience for the kids. She's like, hurry up, we're late, let's go. And she's kind of dragging the kids along. And because like in her mind, it's like, hurry up, what are you putting me with these kids for? Like, they're slow, like I want to go. So she was not in the program and still isn't. But her little feelings were hurt. So we still have to bring her and tie her up sometimes so she can feel like she's part of it. But no, we can't use her. She's not an ideal horse for the program. But we have other horses that we've had that maybe are her age or, you know, kind of more experienced, as well as some miniature ponies that we have that we use in the program. The miniature ponies are awesome because for people who have never been around horses, they're less intimidating because they're just tiny. Like literally, if I were to stand up, they come up to my hip or lower. So they're very small. And it's actually kind of like leading a dog around, a big dog. But they're very smart. They're very intuitive. Whether it's the horses or the ponies, they know how to conduct themselves, and how they behave from one person to the next can differ because it's based on where that person's at and how they're willing to contribute to the relationship as they're in that arena working with them. So it's really cool to watch because, for example, I had one of our horses. It's actually my daughter's horse, Morgan, and it's her horse, and I roped off him and she barrel raced off of him for years. And when we work with him, he's not like a kid-friendly kind of horse. He never has been. He's a little spooky. He's got a lot of jam. He's very athletic, and he doesn't have like a very strong personality and very outgoing personality. The only place he's really behaves in a how do you say, an outgoing way is when he's going to rope. Even barrel racing, he really didn't like it. He just did it because we asked him to. But the roping, you put him in a rope box and he knows his job, and that's where he shines. But for whatever reason, that day I thought, oh, well, I'll try him for the program. I'll use him. I had an older group of kids and I used him, and I was just blown away. I could not have imagined the way this horse was going to respond. He became a whole different being to me. I've never seen this side of him. He became patient. He became a leader. And the kid that I had him with, seems to work best with kids who are autistic for some reason. And you would think that would scare him, being that there's a lot of, you know, quick movements and sometimes some outbursts here and there, but he was just a natural at it. And so, in fact, we use him all the time for the program, and we actually have to give him scheduled days off because it's so easy just to use him for every class.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
I hope you're going to write about him.
I should, because he's really special. But, you know, all these horses are really special. They all shine just like all people do, right? Everybody has something that they're good at. We may not know it yet, but everybody has a gift.
I know sometimes when I was growing up, we had horses, and Dad used to have a water business and ice business. And, sometimes he'd lose his temper with the horses. So he was feeding them, and they're in the barn, and they're in the same stall. Like, so he went in between there with his hay, and then get over like that. And he pushed that horse in. So then when he was coming back out, both horses went like this together, and they wouldn't let him go out. They just held him with their bellies like that. He said, okay, I'm sorry. He actually had to say that. And before they let him out. Yeah.
Yes, they're very smart. They're very smart. We're new to this, this next part that I'm going to tell you is Dad brought home a rescue mule last year.
Okay.
And it was an older lady that had this mule, and apparently she rescued it from whatever situation it was in. And it hadn't been handled much, but this older lady had this mule, but she was unable to keep it anymore. So Dad was able to get his hands on this mule. And he says, I'm bringing a mule home. And I was like, okay, never had a mule before. I guess we'll see. So he goes to Swift Current, picks up this mule, brings it back. I have no idea what to expect. I've never worked with mules or donkeys. Neither has Dad. So anyhow, he brought this little mule home. And here she's just short. She's just like a pony-sized mule. And apparently she's called a hinny. That's her, I don't know, whatever she's crossed with. I don't know a whole lot about mules, but anyhow, she's white and she's very short. She's not hardly any bigger than our miniature horses. And we're learning a lot from her. You know, she's not easy to catch, but she's fiercely protective of our area. Like even with our dogs or any strange dogs, even our own dogs, she gives them like a playful warning, but like she is agile. She can keep right up with the big horses and turn on a dime. Like she moves like a little buffalo. It's actually pretty cool. Anyhow, she's found her place here now, and it's so cool because like we don't do much with her. We bring her in, brush her every now and again, and but she's found a home here, and maybe we'll be able to use her in the program down the road. But like even at our age, we're learning about different things because these are a different type of animal, and so they have different ways that you have to work with them and train them, and you have to have a lot of patience. We also acquired 2 more miniature mules that we plan on driving, and man, it's like they don't forget anything. So you want to show them something, you better be showing them right the first time. So that's teaching me a lot, right? About observing, back to what I learned when I was young, about being observant, working quietly, being mindful of my energy when I go in to work with them. These are all things that can, again, take this out of the horse realm and take that teaching into maybe the workplace, right? What do you bring to the table energetically when you're working with people? Are you bringing all your garbage from home and coming off as like a real grumpy old lady when you come to work, or man? Or are you leaving your stuff at home and coming into work and in anticipation of working, doing your work in a good way? And all that is energy. So all the stuff that we learn with the horses, you can bring into your lives, into the workplace, into school, into just how you come into situations, how you conduct yourself. And this, again, as we know, goes back to the teachings, right? The teachings that we learned as Indigenous people. And so it's all connected, it's all combined. So these horses teach us so much more. It's not about just getting on there and going for a ride. That's not all that horses teach us. Horses teach us so much about ourselves. They remind us of our shortcomings. They remind us of our strengths. They humble us and sometimes show us that the things that we have to work on within ourselves. So I'm always mindful of that when I come into new situations or work with different people. I'm going into social work. I've kind of been doing social work my whole life, but I'm finishing up my degree here in the next year or so. And I'm hoping to be able to use that along with the experience that I have with horse therapy, as well as the healing part of it. And I think there's a real need for this, to be able to bring that type of therapy in, a land-based therapy, to work with people, adults and children, who are healing from past traumas, and being able to use the horses as that conduit to that healing. So it'd be really great maybe this summer or next summer, Winston, if I know you visit when you come through, but because of COVID, we missed our visits last year, but it would be really an honor to have you by sometime when we're doing a class or two, and just have you be a part of that. I think Jerry would enjoy it as well, and we'd sure like to have you.
Oh, thank you. We'll do that then for sure. I had a ranch in Alberta right by Turner Valley, and next door there was a ranch. I think it's 4,000 acres, and he had a lot of cattle on there. You know what they had for a guard? A mule. That was that. He would tackle a mountain lion. He would chase a bear, a wolf, coyotes, anything. And apparently one time, maybe it wasn't him, but I heard the story when I was talking about that mule, that somebody was attacked by a mountain lion, and that mule just went right there and grabbed that mountain lion right by his coat and just pulled him off and shook him, kicked him and everything, and that mountain lion just took off as fast as he could go. And so I mean that's quite a punch when you kick him with his feet, both feet. So like when you mentioned that he protects your yard, I believe that, because I already heard stories of protecting.
Yeah, it's funny how they have that innate need or feeling to protect like that. Like there's no training involved there. That's something that they have on their own, like something that's within them. And I know a lot of people that have mules or donkeys around for predator control. There's a few other animals like llamas. You would never think a llama would be,
That's right. Yeah.
effective, but we've also had a llama before when we had sheep, and he fiercely protected his flock. We also have a livestock dog as well right now. So we have an Anatolian Shepherd, and she is a protector. There's certain breeds that you don't have to train it. You don't have to train them to do that. It's just very much ingrained in their personality. Like Great Pyrenees, a friend of mine has 2 Pyrenees that they have for coyote control or livestock control. And whatever you put these animals with, that's what they connect to, and that's what they'll guard. So if you put them with cattle, they'll have an understanding that that's who they're taking care of. If you put them with sheep, if you put them with horses, and if they don't have animals to guard and you have them as a pet, you're their herd, and then you're who they protect.
Right.
So that's the nature of guardian animals, and it's just amazing how Creator made that, right? Like it just all gets sorted out on its own, and like everybody has a gift, even all the horses and all the animals and all the dogs, like all the creatures. Everybody has a gift.
Yeah, that's right, and that must be so nice for those people that come in there, especially the young people, when you tell them that everybody has a gift, and they'll say, "Oh yeah," and then you say yes, and now you're going to work with this horse, and you're going to see her gift because she already recognizes your horse. I've been watching her, and this is the horse that's really been watching you. And you probably look at the horse, and then sure enough, the horse is. Well, let me sing you a song before I forget. It's about
okay.
It's about horses. Okay.
All right.
You've heard the song before. It was called "My Coat of Many Colors." Dolly Parton sang it. I like the melody so much, I just changed the words. And okay, so I'm going to just sing it. And this is for you. With my wrap-around moccasins and my pony right outside, it wasn't very much, but we really like to ride across the rolling prairies, so big and wild and free. And my frozen bannock sandwiches a cocoa made for me. My frozen bannock sandwiches with some choke cherry, a nice pop and a bill of coke, and a nice big cup of tea. Oh, we were not very special until he came to me and loved my frozen bannock sandwich, and he liked me.
That was awesome.
Yeah, because that's a good song, and I thought I got to sing it for Indians. And I was thinking of you when I wrote that because you love horses. So many times then, like I was telling you about that horse I had, Joe, and I would get, just like you, I'd get people coming to me, and so the Justice Department came to me, and they had about 12 boys, or maybe 14 boys, that it was their last stop before prison, adult prison, and they wanted to give them something special. So they heard about, because I had a big camp out, a big couple teepees on my ranch and horses. So they said, "Could you help these boys?" I said, "Yes." And so they came, and they were all nice. But there was one boy, we waited and waited and waited for him. Finally, I said, "Does anybody see him?" And one guy said, "Yeah, he went to the washroom." So I went and looked in the washroom, and then we waited for about another half hour, and all of a sudden a car pulled in, and there's a lady in there, and that young fellow was in the car with her. What he had done, he was scared to ride horses, because when I talked to him, he said he'd ridden horses all the time. I said, "Good." I said, "You're going to be one of my right-hand men." So he snuck off to the highway, to the road, and he hitchhiked down there, and then he got let off at Turner Valley, and then he started walking towards Calgary. And that's when that lady came along and recognized him because she worked with him, and she brought him back. So then that was the guy that said he didn't like, this horse didn't like him, that horse didn't like him. But all that time, like those boys were going into their next stop was adult prison if they did anything bad. But they never once told on him or anything. Everything he did, nobody said anything. And I thought, boy, what great understanding they have for their fellow man. I guess they didn't want to see him go to prison, but yeah. And so when they got on the horses, it finally got down to the last point where I had to give him my horse, and that was Joe. And when he got on Joe, I guess Joe felt that this guy needed lessons. He just bucked, and that guy just landed on his back and really knocked the wind out of himself. And I looked at Joe and I said, Joe, you never bucked. Why did you do that? So he, like what you're talking about, he must have recognized this guy needs a lesson,
Yeah.
But that is so interesting what you're talking about. I mean, you could almost write a university course for that. And maybe what you should do, I'll just put this in your mind and I'll help you. The University of Victoria, they have Cree. You can talk Cree, and you can get a doctorate in anything that you're good in. You can get and I'm sure that if you could start these classes anywhere on the prairies, in some of the BC towns, and you probably will. But one thing is writing the books and talking about your dad quite a bit, because he's got that natural touch. I've always seen him with horses, and your mother too. She must have that affinity for horses also, eh?
She used to ride a lot when she was young, and she shared a lot of stories with me about that. Apparently back then, my mom was 89 years old. Back then, though, it was kind of frowned upon when you got a certain age as a young girl, that you kind of stopped riding. It was like, you're now a young lady, you're not supposed to do this. That's the way they were taught. And she used to just love riding horses. And I guess Grandma Bella had told her, don't go out there and ride horses anymore. Like, you're a young lady now, and you're coming up to this age, and you need to stop doing that. And you have to, you have to be this the way and that way. And, so she wasn't supposed to ride, but she still did. She'd go off, sneak off and go riding. And this one time she, with one of her cousins, I forget who it was, but off they went. And back then you just jumped on anyone's horse out. If you came across horses, and off you went, you had a horse for the day. And so she rode this horse all day, had a great time. And as it was getting late and it was time for her to come home. So as she's riding home, she's cutting through the bush and trying to make it home before her mom catches her. And she's riding this horse, running through the bush, comes down a little ravine. As she comes up the other side, the horse suddenly just spooked and went really hard to the side, and she fell right off and landed on a rock on her arm. And what the horse spooked from was there was a bull sleeping there in the shade.
Wow. Yeah.
So she got up, and of course she was scared. The bull didn't even really bother her, but she ran home. And she was injured, but she had to hide that injury because she didn't want Grandma to know that she was riding a horse. So she didn't say anything. So it was supper time, and they had their supper, and she didn't really eat too much. She wasn't feeling really good, but again, trying not to show that she was hurt. But she had this sore arm, and she went to bed that night, and I guess she just couldn't sleep. And I believe it was sometime in the middle of the night, she actually woke her mom up, and she had a fever from this because it was a bad break in her arm. And so Grandma had to, So then Grandma had to get one of the uncles, maybe late Uncle Cecil or Uncle George or somebody, had to take her in to the doctor the next day, and they had to set her arm and put it in a cast. So anyway, she got busted. But that was the kind of thing I guess she did. And, so it was in her heart too, to do, to that love of the horses. And, even listening to Dad's stories too, and how, horses were used they weren't just for recreation. That's how you got places. That's how you went to town. That's how you did your work, right? So that respect that he has for them comes from a good place, and from a place of importance, because those horses were actually like, they meant a lot to them, right? That was their livelihood as well. I mean, my dad, I believe he tells me he was around 8 years old when he got his first team of horses. Whoa. And he was put to work with it. 8 years old. It's like, what were you doing when you were 8? Nowadays, right? It's like, you're lucky if you can, throw your own laundry in the laundry basket at 8 years old. And here he had his own team of horses, and he was out in the bush with his dad and cutting loads of wood and stuff. And that's how they would sell that. And So horses have been like a way of life for him, but they were also really close to his heart as well. And I think he found it challenging to be able to train them to do different things. And, like he made it into something really special. And we've had a lot of good horses in our lives, and he had a lot of good horses in his life. And I believe I was 4 years old and I was riding my dad's stallion. That's how well trained he was. My dad had that horse trained so well, and you could ride him amongst mares and anything, but you had a saddle on him and he was business. It's not like everything else around him. He was like this. He's just doing his job. And I was 4 years old, and that's one of the horses that I rode a lot growing up, and my brothers did as well. And so we come from a large blended family. I'm the youngest of 9. A few of the boys rode. I think I remember Chester riding some and Clayton a little bit. None of the girls rode really. I don't know. It's just none of them really got the bug, I guess, like I did. And I don't know, maybe being the youngest, they had more time to nurture that. I know it must have been really busy raising a large family like that, and running a farm and running a business. But I'm sure grateful that he gave me that life, that him and mom were able to provide that life and that environment for me to learn in. And you're never done learning. You're never going to know everything, right? It's like anything in life. There's always more room for more learning. Even like as a competitor, I mean, I barrel race and I rope and I compete a bit. Not much the last few years because I've gone back to university. I kind of had to put it aside. But I always made it a point to take at least one clinic every year, one type of training from a certain trainer. And even if it was for barrel racing and I've done it forever, you can always learn something from somebody, right? Even if you go to a 3-day training and you pick up one little bit of information, that one little bit of information could really change how you work with your horses, which in turn can be reflected into your daily life too, when working with people and everything. So yeah, we're never too old to learn, and I'm open to that, and I always have been. And I encourage others out there too to keep your mind open and to know that there's always going to be teachings out there that you'll benefit from.
I think it was Rodney Sunyas and I. We went to over there at Hobima, one of the tribes. I forget which one. But anyway, there was a guy there that he had good horses, and he also said, no, I was with Keith Wttunee, and he said that you guys ride horses. And Keith said, yeah. He said, how would you like to ride a $20,000 horse? It's my wife's barrel horse. And so Keith said, yeah. He said, sure, I'd like that. So we got on that horse, and that horse just took off right down to the barrel and right back like really hard. And Keith said to me, Winston, try that horse. Said it's a really fast horse. So I said, okay. I said, you know what you're doing down at the barrel. So I got on there, and that horse just took off. Got to the barrel, came back around. You know what he was doing as he was running? My cowboy boots were in the stirrups, and he was kicking my feet from underneath as he was running. That because he was getting his feet right up there, his back feet right up there. I'd never ridden a horse like that. But then somebody over on Mosquito, they had a horse, and that horse was a work horse, like a Percheron, and a quarter horse. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that horse was so fast. And that horse you could stand here and you could jump 6 feet right over a fence just like that, because I had him in Battleford, and he jumped the fence. I didn't know he'd jump like that. He jumped the fence, and so I put out something on the radio, and somebody phoned me and said, your horse is here. And they said, what kind of a horse is that? And I said, I don't know. I said, I just borrowed it off one of my cousins. And then he said, that horse can really jump. He said, I tied him out on a fence at the gate. And when I went out to see him again, he was on the other side. He jumped right over that fence, and that fence was 6 feet high. So that same horse we were roping steers, and I was on that horse. and he was so fast. And my uncle Tommy Pun was sitting on top of the fence, and that fence had to be at least 10 feet high. And that calf was going straight to where he was going, so I was coming right behind him, and I had my rope. I was going like that, and at the last second, that calf turned, and I thought, oh my God, there's three things. There's four things that can happen. The horse can stop. He can stop right at the fence. He can go left. He can go over, or he can go right. And when we got about 15 feet from the fence, my uncle just fell over backwards and landed on the ground, hurt himself. Not too bad, but he said, "Why did you ride right? Why did you ride right towards me?" He said, "I was following that calf." He said, "Well, boy, you're crazy." "No, I'm not." I said, "That calf and that horse are crazy." but that horse beat a $20,000 barrel horse because he had a big, right under here, had a big bump from the young people riding, pulling him back all the time. He had a great big bump like that. And yeah, but he was a fast horse. And I forgot who had him, but I had him anytime I wanted to ride him because I'd look after him, put him in a corral so he couldn't jump. But I know another story too. But I want to ask you something first. I heard in the old days, women didn't ride horses. Like if a warrior had a horse, he would never let any of his daughters or his wife ride that horse because as soon as a woman rode that horse would change. And that was the story I heard because with a war horse, a war pony, you had to be able to do anything. And there's a story about a Blackfoot Indian. He was coming back to the camp, and these women were there picking chokecherries or Saskatoons. All of a sudden, he's riding by, he heard them, and he just turned and raced right for the bush. And when he got in there was a bear in there. He had a spear, and that horse was his war pony. And he went right to that bear and ran the spear into him, eh? And maybe it's that, I don't know. Anyway, that's what I heard. But women, when they ride a horse, they settle the horse down. That's what I heard. And catchers, use dogs. But yeah.
Well, I've heard some stories too, Winston. There's some teachings that people have about women riding horses, and there's different protocols and such. And I'm sure there's people out there that would be able to share some of that. I'm still a student of a lot of the traditional ways. I didn't grow up with a lot of the teachings. I've learned them in my adult years. My mom, I come from 2 generations of residential school survivors, and so a lot of the traditional ways and teachings they weren't taught. So I'm learning it now as an adult, and I'm really open to any type of and all of the teachings. I'm still learning, and I learn a lot from my partner. I learn a lot from his family. I learn a lot from other mentors that I have and elders such as yourself. And again, it's all about learning and having that open mind. And a lot of these teachings aren't going to be passed down to me or my kids the way they were meant to be, because there's that gap in those generations where we didn't come upon these teachings the way we would have 50, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. So I mean, I'm very I'll be the first to say that I have a lot to learn, and I'll also say that I'm really thankful for the people who have been mentoring me and helping me along, and all the teachers I've met along the way from all different nations and all different cultures. And I look up to you a lot, and I know you've helped me quite a bit in just listening to your stories and your songs. And this is what this is all about, this whole storytelling thing, and being able to connect with people from all over, and seeing how I guess noticing that there's a lot of likeness throughout the different tribes, the different cultures. And some of our guests aren't Cree. They're not from here. They may be from the States. They may be from other parts of Canada. But it's so interesting to note the connections that are there amongst our culture, because it's a beautiful culture. And a lot of the teachings and the foundations of that are quite similar, if not the same.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Yeah. I wanted to show you this picture of my horse Smoke. He is he's an English Arabian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I can see. Yeah, he's beautiful. Is he a gray?
Yeah, he's a gray. And at that time, he was 5 years old. And no, he wasn't. He was black when I got him. But those Arabians, when they get to 5 years old, that's when they turn color. and so he turned color. He was going white, and that was such a beautiful horse. Every time I'd get on him, he'd buck me for the first 100 steps, like he'd just be bucking like that, and then I'd say, okay, settle down, and all my horses would do that. I wonder why they did that. Every horse I got on, all my horses, they'd always buck for about the first minute. They'd just buck sideways like that, get fancy, you know.
They're showing off for you.
Well, that's what I thought. You know, somebody said they're just showing off for you. So I was at Calgary, and I went over there to Wttunee, and this one guy, he loaned me a horse. He said, "Here, Winston, ride this horse." I think it was a chief, and because him and his son used to go in the mountains, and they used to get horses out of the mountains. And anyway, I got on there, and as soon as we got going, right away he started bucking. But the only thing, he wasn't just standing; he was actually bucking as we were going. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do the same thing I do to my horse. I said, "Okay, settle down," and he just settled down, just like that. He was just showing off, I guess, eh?
Yeah. And sometimes the horses will do that with a new rider too. They'll kind of feel you out and see, what can I get away with?
Yeah.
Is this guy is he like a pushover, or does he know his stuff? And I'm not sure. So they kind of test you a little bit. And sometimes they do that. I have a mare that I have here, and she'll be 11 years old this year. And I still have to lunge her for the first little bit. Honestly, like I shouldn't have to, but that's just her nature. She's a little cold backed, and she wants to hump up and buck a little bit for the first little bit, and then she's okay. So some of them they're just feisty like that, I guess.
Tell me something.
So she's going to be having Oh, go ahead. I said she's going to be having a baby this year, so we gave her the year off. She can give us a colt and be a mama for a year.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. You know, I still wish I'd have bought that Palomino pony, that Palomino colt. Remember, we went there and we saw that Palomino colt just outside of Battleford? And,
oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and he only wanted $500, I think.
I think he wanted $2,500.
Oh, at that? No. The price was going to go up after. And that was that Indian Wheatgrass that owned that horse. And
yeah, that's Kelly Atchinham. He has some good horses. And well, when you come this spring, we'll have to go have a look at his babies. He'll have more babies this spring.
Oh, that'll be great stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I want to ask, Kintuere Tamatanki, Koi. And this is, I always wondered about this. You know, when you go around the fence like this, do the horse or a tree, do they on purpose try to bump your leg as they go around there?
Again, some of them do. Some of them like, oh, I'll rub my rider off. They shouldn't do that, but some do that. And it depends too. Like, yeah, some horses will do that. They'll try and rub off their riders, and yeah.
Well, I got so every time.
But a good horse shouldn't do that.
Tell me something. Do horses have open minds?
Yeah, they do. Some are like for example, the horse I talked about earlier, Sophie, she's just very willing for anything. Like she's like a really excited kid about life. Like she just wants to try everything, see everything, and just experience everything. Like she's really enthusiastic about anything.
I'll be right back. I just want to get another picture to show you. I'll be right back. Keep on talking.
Okay. So yeah, some horses are like that. Some horses have that in as part of their personality. Some horses, they can be a little bit tough to catch when you go to catch them to go riding. But once you catch them, they're great to go for a ride on. They're all different. They all have such different personalities. And you get to know your horses the more time you spend with them. I traveled for many years with the same two horses when I was rodeoing, and you know, you get to know them, and you get to know how they are, their little habits, what you need to do, how much of a warm-up they need before you go in and compete, how they rest at night. I had one horse that I used to travel with, and she was a really restless traveler. Like at night, she didn't sleep very well on the road. And then we had the other mare we had her with, and she settled in. No matter where you took her, it was like, okay, it's rest time. So they learn, you know, and they pick it up, and they get the routine of things about, especially when you're spending most of your summers on the road and, you know, getting unloaded and tied up and being patient. And, you know, when it's time to go and get ready and saddle up and warm up your horse for your event. And they know, they got it all figured out. Like horses are really responsive when it comes to routines like that. We also had other horses that back when I lived in Meadow Lake that we did a musical ride with, and so we would do the opening act as a group for the Meadow Lake Stampede. And these horses had the whole thing memorized. It was like a musical ride. We had someone choreograph it, and we were basically riding our horses at speed to music as the grand opening for the rodeo. And those horses knew because we practiced so much, but they had it actually memorized where their place was, when they had to turn, when they had to go faster or slow it down. And it's really amazing. Like, horses are just so intelligent in so many ways. And they like routine. A lot of horses really thrive on routine. I guess I shouldn't say all of them, but most horses do. They like that sense of routine. It's just like when you open the barn at night, and if you bring horses in every night and you open the barn doors, they know where their place is. They know where their stall is. Very seldom will they go into the wrong stall or go poking around the barn, but because usually they know where they go and where their feed is, and that's their space and their time. Did you find your picture?
Yes, I did. And here it is.
Okay,
here.
let's see.
This horse right here.
Mm-hmm.
So pull that closer for a second.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah. See that Appaloosa?
Oh, I can't see you, Winston. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, right there.
I see it now.
That Appaloosa.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, he was a really nice horse, just gentle and everything. But that horse right beside him to the right, that's Joe. That was a quarter horse. And I just love that horse. And when I bought him over there on the way to Saskatoon from North Battleford on that highway there, just past that barn or that place where they sell hay and everything. It's like an auction place.
Yeah.
Up the road there. And anyway, I asked him, I said, is he broke? No, he said, but you can break him right away. So the girl was riding him. And so I got on, I rode him. And he jumped around a little bit, but I just hung on. I kept him really. And then anyway, he said, how are you going to get him back? I said, I'm going to ride him back to Red Pheasant. So we had to go across that river. So we got to the river. And by that time, I had something in mind that we had to do. And I called him Joe right away. Joe, I said, you're going to have to swim this river. Or maybe it wasn't deep, I don't know. But we went down there and I got on and I said, come on, boy, like that. And he trusted me right away. And he went in the water. He had to swim a little bit. And then we got out. I jumped off, walked a bit, got back on. By the time we got home, him and I were the best of friends. And this one here, this one right at the back here. Wait a minute. Oh, this one right here. They used to rope just outside of North Battleford, about 5 miles west of there in that ranch. I forget who owned it. But that guy said to me, Winston, you want to buy a horse? And I said, I'll sell you a good horse for $500. And I said, well, first thing I thought was, what's wrong with the horse? I said, what's wrong with it? Well, he said he bowed attended. He bowed attended. And he's a fast horse, but you can only ride him for a little bit every time. But he'll be okay next year if you look after him. So I bought him for $500. That same night, that guy that there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken on the way out of North Battleford when you're going north.
Yeah.
And that guy, he used to come there roping, and he offered me $1,500 for that horse that same night. And and I thought, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to sell this horse because he's so fast, he's so good. And gee, he was so good, just ride so fast. And then this little horse over here, wait, I'm having trouble finding. Over here. That's strange. Yeah. Oh, that's. Anyway, that little horse with the white face and his head up in the air.
Yeah.
That little horse was that little mare that I bought off Bert Pritchard. Oh, that was a fast horse. And my son and that other little black horse beside him, they used to ride those two little horses around all over the place on the reserve. And oh man, you should have seen them when they'd come riding up to the house. They'd come up full gallop and they'd stop just before, slam the horses to a halt, and they'd stop like that. And then there's one horse there behind Joe, right on the right-hand side of that horse with the white face, and that was Choke Cherry. And I could tell a quick little story about Choke Cherry. He's a good horse. I broke him right away. And then one day I was riding him down to the other end. I was riding him. I'd taken him for a ride down to the end of the pasture for something. I had to go down there for something. Uncle Noel was with me. And when we were going down there, full gallop, Joe started bucking. And I thought, all of a sudden, his head wasn't in front of me. Then his head, I said, is this horse bucking? And sure enough, what had happened, one of the straps had come loose underneath his belly, and that's what he was bucking about. So now I was hanging on. When I wasn't hanging on, I was doing okay. But as soon as I started hanging on, I went flying. And when I got up, my tongue was just bleeding. And I thought I cut half my tongue off. And I run running back and I said to Uncle Noah, I said, did I cut my tongue off? Did I bite? He said, yeah, you bit it right off.
Oh my.
Well, I said,
I bet you had.
Let's go find it. Let's go find it. I said, I need my tongue because I was singing, you know. And then he started laughing. He said it's just bleeding. But
you were like, that's my bread and butter.
That's my bread and butter, yeah. But I love this horse. I love Joe. And that fast one back there, I called him Eagle Wings. Oh, he was so fast. And I just called him my Appaloosa Patches. That's all I called him. And I don't remember the names of the other horses because I never rode them. But yeah, so I was so happy I still had these pictures because I just love horses too. Yeah.
I have some pictures of when you came and visited. I believe it was, no, not last summer, the summer before. I'll have to show you when you come.
Okay.
We had taken a few pictures of you and Jerry out with the herd when you were here. So
that's right too.
I sure hope this COVID goes away soon so we can kind of get back to normal here.
Yeah, for sure. This is kind of hard, like not getting back to normal, eh? But that's, you know, it's been good for us because, you know, like every time I work, I've got to travel at least 250 miles. And then most of the time I'm going out to British Columbia too. So right off the bat, you got a 2-day journey right there. And so this is nice because I can work at home like this. I don't make the same kind of money I did when I was on the road, but you know, but like this, I get a little bit, it's enough. And plus I can stay home. And I didn't know that I really missed being at home. It was hard traveling out there every, you know, but so this has been beautiful. My dad had horses in Battleford. He had a barn there, Ruby and Nancy. And he had one big horse called Nigger. And that horse broke its leg. And I remember Dad had to kill him. And I remember he hit him with an axe right here. And he didn't cry. Maybe he did, but I remember that the tough love that goes into having a horse. And then here, I'm just going to show you another picture. I helped start up a little school, kindergarten school in Kelowna, British Columbia. And that little girl there, her mother works at that school. And that little girl, right there, she's about 13, I guess. But I met her when she was about 10. And she was riding a little horse and jumping over stuff. And I knew her because I knew her family. And one day she had that little horse. She went to jump over there's a jumping horse, went to jump over, and the horse stopped right before, and she went flying over there. And she was sitting on that horse back outside there, just sitting there all by herself, looked like there's nobody else around. And I stopped and I said to her, Amy, I said, you shouldn't be jumping. You should be riding. You should be riding, you know, like barrel racing. That's what you should be doing. I said, you got too much fire in you to, because she was Métis. You got too much fire in you to be just jumping over a stick. And you know what? That's what she did. She quit jumping horses. Her dad bought her a really nice, fast horse. And now that's what she does. She does barrel racing. And she's good. And she knows those kids from that one television show.
Heartland?
Yeah, Heartland, yeah. And she's ridden with them. I don't know if she's ever been on there, but she's ridden with them. Yeah. So, like, have you had any offers yet for movies, like to go and do some guest spots with your, you know, horse training? And
it's been a good life growing up with horses, and I've been able to offer that to my kids as well, growing up at different parts of their lives. No, we never got to make it with our horses in the movies. I think I did a little bit of work as an extra in different movies. I believe in the early 90s. Nothing that you'll find on the internet or anything with me, but just as an extra for, I think, North of 60 and a couple cowboy movies and whatnot. But yeah, so but there are a lot of people that follow that route, and they became really well known for their parts in the movie industry. So yeah, but for us, it was just more about put the girls in barrel racing, and they got to compete, and they got to go to a pretty good level, and both of them qualified for International Indian Finals one in Arizona and one in New Mexico, and then I qualified for 2 different years as a finalist and representing Saskatchewan. So I went in 2009 and 2011 as well. So it was a really good experience. We didn't come out winning, but it was just an awesome experience. I mean, just to be able to travel that far with the horses, and it's a good life. And if you can offer that to your kids, and it's not even about just the winning either. It's what they learn as they're training for it and working towards it. Right? It's setting those goals and having something to work towards. And those goals can maybe don't have to necessarily mean being like the top in your field, but striving for that and meeting those milestones that that occur along the way, and that building that relationship with your horses. Like we talked about Lexi earlier and how she was, a really good big part of my life. And she gave me something that is so valuable that, I'll never have that experience again. She gave me a sense of, she made me feel like I knew what I was doing, and she helped me grow as a competitor, and we learned together. She wasn't a trained horse when I got her in her field. We worked together at it. She didn't get started till she was 8 years old.
Okay.
She was running out free till she was 8. And then at 8, I started working with her, and she was just such a natural athlete. It just came very easy for her. And it was like, she always wanted to keep going. Like, let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. And I'm like, well, hold on. We haven't learned all we need to learn, but she kept pushing. Like, she wanted it herself.
Right.
And those horses are hard to find. Those types of horses that are self-motivated like that and want to work. Like, she just had the heart to do it. And, so we kind of took off in our first year, and her first year of riding is actually the first year we ended up qualifying for New Mexico. And I hauled her all the way to Farmington, New Mexico that year. I mean, this horse was just started in March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she had very little time on her, really just a summer is all she had on her. But she wanted it. Like, she wanted to do well. She wanted to please. And being able to communicate with her was an asset for me, because we do a lot of negotiating in her training, because she's a very kind of a hard-headed girl. And it's like, okay, well, we'll do this, but first we have to do this. So we had to do a lot of that. And there's a lot of give and take in that relationship. But she taught me a lot, and she really pushed me out of my comfort zone, because she was going with her without me. So it's like, hang on, we're going.
That's something new, eh?
Yeah, so it was good. Yeah, because prior to that, I had been helping my girls along with their rodeo, and I was like the mom in the background helping them. And all of a sudden, I had this horse that was ready to roll, and I guess I just had to jump on board if I wanted to go along. So I rodeoed her for a number of years, right up until, I would probably say, I think 2013 or 14 was our last year that we traveled down the road. I still jackpot her. I can still use her for jackpots here and there, and she still brings in some money every now and again. But I don't push her too hard. She's earned her retirement. If it was up to her, she would push herself all the way, and it's not worth hurting her over. She means a lot to us. And she's done her work. She's had her day in the sun. So yeah, mostly right now I just use her for if I want to go for a nice quiet ride in the evening. She loves doing that. Like, she's okay with that. That's her thing. Or I think Dad rode her in the parade a couple of years ago. So I said, you better be good. I'm putting my dad on you. You behave. She's like, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess you have those horses that are special to you, and the ones that you'll always have good memories with. And we're lucky to still have her with us right now. And she's kind of a grouchy old thing these days because she's getting older and doesn't tolerate too much. But she's the boss out there and she keeps everybody in order. So I guess she's got a different job.
Yeah. Like there was one time, it was for a little magazine or something. Anyway, they wanted to have a silhouette of a horse going up a hill, and so they came to where I was because I had a ranch just out of Calgary, and they said, "Can you go up that hill about? We want to take a picture of silhouette, And so I told my son, I said, "Son, you do it." So he got on the horse and he went over there, and they did 3 times. And I said, "You know what, you guys, if you don't figure out what you're doing," I said, "this horse is not going to back up there many more times, because he's not doing it for any reason." So on the 3rd time, the horse went up he went up, but he would not go up again after that. And I had a dog once, it was a hunting dog. He would point the bird I was going to shoot at, and then when that bird flew, if I miss it, he wouldn't point anymore. We'd work together maybe for 4 hours, and as soon as he wouldn't work anymore, And so that horse, he went up there, and then when he still had to go do the same thing, he wouldn't do it anymore, So I know they have feelings.
They do. Well, my rope horse, the one I was telling you about that I use in the program that's so good at it, I use him for breakaway roping, and he's kind of that way. He's like, you get in the box, he'll set you up, they crack the gate, you come out, and if you don't catch in the first 2 strides, forget it. He's like, I ain't chasing that thing for you. You missed. You missed, so forget about it. Because you have so many seconds to continue to try and catch if you don't catch. Yeah. But that's what he's good at, that start. He's got that hard start, and he gives you your shot. And if you're off and don't take it, he's like, too bad. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's right. I roped there was an Australian came up to Canada, and he stayed on our ranch with his wife. And he used to do rodeo in Australia. And when I was roping like this, and what he would do, he'd be sitting there with his rope like this. And as soon as the calf would be let, he'd just go. That's all he would do. He would just throw the rope like that, and us we go, But he'd go,
yeah.
And he said, "Boy, you waste a lot of time."
Yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun, Nikki. Hey, it's 5-2 already.
Yes, it was so good to visit with you today, and we had those other awesome guests earlier, and it was good.
Boy, oh boy! So I've got a little puppet too, and I can do that ventriloquism really good. Like when I talk, you can't see my mouth move, and I just talk like that. You can't see my mouth move, and but then I make sure I coordinate when he's talking like that. But tell you a little joke about that little puppet. I called him Joe, and we were up north here in Manitoba, and we had about a 5-hour ride to Winnipeg, and I got bored. I thought, well, I guess it's a good time to practice. Joe, I said, we're going to practice, and he was in a bag, so I pulled him out of the bag. He said, I was sleeping, and I said, well, we have to practice, you and I, and we got to get our show down a little better than what we're doing, And I said, so I want you to look out here at the window, look at everything, and tell me what you see. Oh, I said, look, I see horses. Oh, there's cows over there. Look, there's a car coming. And I make him do everything like that. And I said, well, wave at the car. So he waved at the car. And then after about 20 cars went by, he just sat down and his head went down. I said, what's the matter? He said, nobody even waves at me. I talked to him for 3 hours all the way back to Winnipeg. So I don't know who was the dummy.
Hey,
oh my goodness.
great storytelling, you guys. It's nice to hear about the horse stories and all the horses you guys own and all the healing they can do. Hey, Uncle, I think this was actually your very first background music there. What did you think of the your first podcast? I guess you were actually interviewing. So this was your first real hosting, I guess, of a podcast online.
Yeah, that's right too. Yep, it's very good. I really enjoyed that, and I think that yeah, I like when somebody has something like Nikki has something with horses, and she works with horses,
Mm.
and you're working in a public way, like, and people come to you from all over the place, and
Yeah.
that's very good. That's very exciting. That kind of stuff. And so was that young fellow that asked me to be his grandfather, because I knew his dad, Pete Wostaka,
Dallas Wascahat.
yeah, like him. I knew his grandfather,
Oh
and he was just a beautiful old guy.
yeah.
He reminded me of when I was young and singing in schools and just starting, and and so that's what he's doing. So that's why I said, well, let's Zoom. You be my grandson, I'll be your grandfather. Let's Zoom,
Yeah.
and you'll teach me songs, and I'll teach you songs too, because I'm a really good songwriter. I can write a song just like that, and he can sing them. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
He
he's doing good. And I'd really like, and he's got that really nice personality. He's
yeah.
gentle and he's kind. You can see that in him right away, and he's
Mm.
intelligent like his grandfather.
Yeah.
So, this is great. And and I was just thinking that there's lots of good opportunities for, like I was just telling, uh, that easy to get into the movies when they see the kind of work you're doing, especially with horses, healing horses. Like, I've never seen anybody do that on television or movies, Nikki. You know, you're the first one I ever saw doing that, and you're my relative. Like, I mean, how good can it get? You know? Yeah,
Yeah.
and Nathan, also about you, like you're doing something, and people talk. I have been talking about doing this for at least a year, getting my own Zoom, my own podcast, going right all over the world, because
Yeah.
I used to do that, and I had people all over the world that were listening to me. And you got a really good voice on this, so you're doing very well. Our relatives are doing, they're doing good stuff. All our relatives are doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so well, speaking of Dawson, we got to shut her down here. We went for the 2 hours and it was awesome. We could go on, and but that's why we're going all month here. And just a reminder, my uncle Winston is a host on Mondays and Fridays for the month of February for Indigenous Storytelling. Yeah, and big surprise here, Dallas. Thank you again for coming on. And he actually messaged, and he does want to co-host one of your Mondays or Friday shows with his wife, Fawn Wood. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that would be a great mute. And like again, going to the podcast where you guys said you can learn off each other. We could literally witness it while you guys were, like we did witness
Sure.
it today. You guys
Yeah.
kind of had a little jam session there online, eh?
Yeah,
And
that's right. Yeah. I
and
enjoyed
and
it.
yeah, and that's teaching us something right there that even though we're in this world right now, we can still connect and learn from each other like this. So
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And the horse
yeah.
teachings that, you know what I heard about the fancy dance, where that came from?
Mm,
When they went to, I don't know where I heard that. Oh, that was yesterday I heard that. When,
yes,
yeah, what about that
Patrick
fancy?
Mitzwing.
Yeah, Matthew and Mitsui.
No,
Was
Patrick Mitzwing. Yeah, he's from Makwa Sagachin. I can't say.
Right.
Sagagan. Makwa Sagagan.
Yeah, that's where he's from.
So is that his father? That is the famous rodeo.
Oh
Didn't
no,
he?
I think that's just his uncle or
Oh,
relative.
okay,
Something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we're winning a lot of stuff, and we're doing a lot of really good stuff. Like
Mm,
wherever. Yep, that's right. And we got to keep that up, and we really got to showcase that, and we can do it.
yeah. But with that, you guys, we are going to shut her down here. We want you guys to have a safe weekend. And remember, we are back here Monday at 12 p.m. Central Time for wherever you're watching. That's Saskatchewan time. So just ask Google or Siri or Alexa, whoever you're watching from, and just ask them what time it is, the time difference to figure it out for you. So yeah, 12 o'clock noon Monday, we'll be back. My Uncle Winston will be back. And we're gonna have probably a guest with him. So yeah, and also we're looking forward for the rest of the week and the week after. And then yeah, we got 3 more weeks of this, Monday to Friday. So please join us daily for this show. And with that, Uncle, you want to close it out?
Sure. So everybody, all your children out there, what I'd like you to do is be happy, because there's many of us that aren't with our relatives all the time, but all you children there in the school, you're with all your relatives. So be very happy about that. The time will come when you're older, about 20 or 30, you might not see your relatives sometimes for 5, 10 years at a time, or 15 or 20 years at a time. So be very happy where you are right now. All right? And have a good day. And thank you for being there. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi.